Everybody. In case you didn't notice, there was a little room change today, so we're doing pre-check-in, not whatever was in here before. So my name's Lee Gaborio. I think I've at least met many of you, if not most. I've worked with PCC for about 3 years now. Fun fact about me, I was one of the very first records that ever existed in a PCC system in 1983, and now my daughter goes to a PCC practice. I have a little 10-year-old girl, and she's at summer camp, so I can't wait to hear about it. You'll also notice that Jim Leahy, aka Batman, is not here today. He had an emergency at home and couldn't make it, so we have had a crew change. This is my friend Althea, and she's going to be Batman. I will remain in Robin form. She is Batman, Bat-person today. So, let's get started. As you all know, we recently implemented the patient pre-check-in feature. We're really excited about it. We know that a lot of our practices are really excited about it. Practices that have started using it are loving it. They're giving great feedback. But as I've learned this week in some of the sessions I've sat in on, about 60% of you aren't using it yet. We want that to change. We really think there's a lot of value added to it for you, and you know, there's not really a lot to lose. There's a little bit of legwork, and there's some other considerations, and we're going to go over some of those today. So, I already summarized some of those goals. Today we're going to talk about the tool and its features, the benefits of it, the limitations, because there are some, and some of those features that need to be considered before we flip the switch for you. And then at the end, we're also going to do a pretty in-depth FAQ and get some client feedback via the tool Slido that you have seen in most presentations this week so far. With that being said, I'm going to hand over the mic to Althea, and she's going to actually do a quick demo of the tool itself, what it looks like, and the workflows associated with it. So we're going to do a quick screen change here and get her on the way.
And I just turned on my mic. Can you all hear me okay? All right, great. So it might not be so quick of a demo, but it's going to be a demo. Can you close that for me, please? Thank you. Okay. So I did a little preparation, and I set up a couple of patients. You should see at any moment. I'm mirroring my screen, so, okay. So you can see I have lots of patients on my account because I do some testing for PCC, but for today, we're gonna pay attention to the siblings, Garrett and Andrew. I'm going to take you through two scenarios. One is the situation in which it's just most common for families where there's nothing to change. There's a card on file, everything's all set. They're just going through and confirming. And then for Andrew, we'll go through and we'll make some changes and we'll see what that looks like for the families and then for in the EHR for your practice. So here we go. I need to be louder, I guess. I am Batman. Okay, so let me go back for a second. Let's see. I got so excited about being Batman that all right, here we go. So you can see we're on the portal homepage, and we've got a big orange button. It says Start Pre-Check-In, and I'm going to go ahead and click Start. So this is our landing screen for pre-check-in. You can see these are collapsible. This patient has everything filled out that we're asking for, and they could go in and edit, but they don't need to. One thing I will mention on this page is, can you see where my mouse is? Yeah, okay, good. So these fields come from the EHR. So whatever you have in there, if you have parent 1, if you have mom, dad, that's going to display on the portal. So that's a consideration when you are, reverb, That's a consideration when you are getting set up for pre-check-in. So because this patient has nothing that they need to change, we're going to go ahead and confirm this section. I'm clicking confirm now. You can see that. And you can see that it turned green and collapsed automatically. I can go back in, but I don't need to. This section as well, confirm. And we've got card on file. We love this. And the card on file displays when you have a card or a document associated with a policy in the EHR. And it has to be in the correct category, and we'll talk about configuration later. I could add an insurance card. I'm not going to do that for this one. We'll come back to this. I could edit. I could expire this card, but I'm just going to confirm it. We're going to see what happens. Now everything is confirmed. You can see I've got all those green check marks. It's so satisfying. I love this part. And then I click submit. Now, I have, in my pretend practice, I have portal payments set up. I have balances set to display. And for this particular portal user, I have balances set to display for this portal user. So I'm prompted after pre-check-in to make a payment. We can make a payment now or at the office. We're not offering don't make a payment. We want them to pay. It's just when. So for the sake of not taking up the whole time with my demo, which is very tempting, I am just going to pay at the office for this patient. And if y'all want to see what it looks like on a test, come find me after, and I have some fake phone numbers, some fake credit cards that I could run a demo for you on that if you're very curious about it. Okay, so we've seen what it looks like when the family just clicks confirm and submits. Super fast, super easy. And now we're going to see what it looks like when the family has some work to do. So let me open Andrew. I'm clicking Start Pre-Check-In from the home screen. It's thinking. I'll click it again. All right, so you can see I've got some orange text and an orange button. And it says information requested. We're not requiring this information. We don't want families entering incorrect information. We want as much information as possible, but we don't want to block submission of pre-check-in. So when I go into edit, I can make some changes. And maybe I'll say his middle name is Drew, and, oh no, not middle name. Let's see the middle initial, and the nickname is Drew, and the birthday's correct, but I'm also gonna say that he prefers not to answer. And maybe okay, Hawaiian, that'll be fun. All right, so obviously this is a fake patient. I'm just playing around, but you can see that this area is collapsed, and I can see confirmed here. And also, there's nothing else in orange. I've completed all of the information here. I can go back in and edit, change it again. Andrew and my other test patient share an account, so everything is present, but if I wanted to go and change, maybe the cell phone is wrong and I need to change a digit, or oh, actually, this is apartment 4. I can do that. So it collapses when I confirm. All the information is complete, and I can go back in if I need to. I have a couple cards on file for this patient. There is one card on file here, and then I have an insurance company that doesn't have any information yet. So I'm going to say this one is, for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to say that this one is needs to be expired. So I've clicked edit. My Wi-Fi is a little bit slow. It's not responding. Let's check. Oh, well, that's probably why. How about that one? Sorry, technical difficulties, folks. Whoop. Here we go. So I'm going to expire this card. This is no longer the correct item I saved. Now you can see it's expired. But I have this one. This is active, great. And I'm going to go ahead and attach a photo of the card. I have some fake card information over here. I'll just choose the BCBS front that I've already prepared and click Save. And now we've got the front of the card here. I can add an insurance. All that we're having folks put in here is the name of the insurance. I'll show you what that looks like as we get into the EHR. So I'm going to say Coventry, and we've got Coventry front. Now, if this was on my phone, I would be prompted to either choose a file on my phone or to take a photo with my phone's camera. So, if the parent has their card, they can just take that photo, and it uploads basically the same way. All right, everything's up to date. No more orange, nothing else left to do. Orange signifies there's something to do. So I'm going to confirm. And I could add another insurance if there was a tertiary, but or if there was a secondary, I guess, so I'm going to submit. Again, I'm going to pay in the office in the interest of time. And so that's what the family sees, and that's what the family has to do for pre-check-in. So let's take a look at what is happening on the EHR side. And I need to reconnect. Okay. So I've got a couple of, you'll notice the visit reasons, some of the visit statuses. I've got a couple of visit statuses that are blank. I have one that's gray, and I have two that are orange. I wonder why that one's orange. Let's take a look. Okay, this is orange because I was planning on not changing anything, but because the accounts are the same, I incorrectly, I didn't set this up right, but basically, I changed this on Andrew's, I believe, and that made a change. So, oh, I know why. Sorry about this, folks. I'm learning as I go. The reason this is orange is because we have these characters in this home phone field. And this is something that we want to think about. If you have characters in this field, it's going to, those characters are not going to be pulled in when you are, when families are seeing the numbers in the portal. And so you're going to want to find a different way to display characters that are not phone numbers. What I was planning was that this would be green because no changes would be here. So I apologize for that. And what you can see is you've got the orange icon here. You've got orange for anything that was different, anything that wasn't changed. You can choose to untoggle that orange and not import it, and that import button turns into decline. And you can see these sections match what the family looked at in the portal: the patient demographics, account demographics, and insurance company. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decline this for the moment for this patient, and I can show you what happens with that. If I had set this up properly, you would have seen it as a green icon here, and this column would not be present. You would just see the pre-check-in information was complete, submitted, no action needed. And what you would see on the schedule screen is the green checkbox. And it's a great feeling in the morning when you come in and all of your checkboxes are green and you're all set and there's no action needed. For the sibling, we changed a bunch of different things. And we also added cards. So you saw what it looked like when I didn't import information. But let's see that again, and we can look at our images. That's a great big document viewer of that card. But you can work with that card in the document viewer in the same way you would with any other document. You can see that I expired this card, and I've got this new policy here. So I unchecked, for the moment, I unchecked these two phone numbers, just to show you what it looks like when I decide not to import some of the information. Everything else is looking good. It's more information that I didn't have before in the EHR, so let's import it. Okay, so you can see there are check marks next to anything that I imported. And if you look in the patient and account demographics, that information is now present in the EHR. It's been imported. But I chose not to import these phone numbers, and those phone numbers have remained as is. So we've got who submitted the pre-check-in, the portal user, and then who imported the pre-check-in. This is collapsible. But you'll notice that the policies button is now orange. That means something needs to be done. And for this, we have a new policy that we need to add. We got those cards, and so we're going to add that policy. And you can see the document is already attached, but we need to go in and enter the policy information. There are a couple of reasons we are doing it this way, and I'm happy to chat about that later. Basically, we're using existing functionality for what's already here, and when we are looking at the card, we're going to enter the information here. For the moment, what I'm going to do is just put in some pretend information. I wouldn't actually do this in real life. You can view the document. You can remove the document if it's actually a picture of a cat or something. And I'm going to save that policy. I'm not going to give it to the sibling. So these are fake patients, but what will happen is when you add these policies, you will get, the eligibility will be checked as you enter them. And let's see, how much time do I have? Should I wrap up? Should I talk about configuration? Wrap it?
Probably got another 5 or 10 minutes.
Another 5 or 10, okay. Yes?
How about the one that was expired?
Okay, yeah, let's look at that. So the expired policies, we want to display I'll show all statuses. Okay, now here's the Blue Cross Blue Shield with the card on file that I expired. And this one was present previously. Okay, so.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
So is this something that y'all can fix where you expire it the day before? If the patient does their pre-check on the day of, it's going to expire that day, which is going to make your system a little wonky when we send it to insurance. So can we have a thing where it automatically does for the day before, or that's what staff needs to go in and do and train them that way, that if they expire on that day, we just need to flip it to like the day before?
So it sounds like if they have a policy that expires today and they're coming in today, this is the problem?
But probably it isn't expired that day. They just had it, when they checked it, it expired that day.
Oh, gotcha.
I just didn't want PCC to grow up over insurances when that one's expired.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What I would do in that case is in the pre-check-in table, I would be, I guess it doesn't say the expiration, but I would be kind of curious about, all right, we've got this active insurance and I've got a card on file and the card on file says expiration today, but they didn't expire it. I'm just going to, note to self, I'm going to ask about that. But yeah, maybe put in an enhancement request or chat with me after about it. Great.
Althea, can I just remind folks to come up to the mic to ask questions? We have people virtually watching and they can't hear the questions.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. So I want to talk about a couple configuration items, and there are lots of other things that we can chat about. I want to look at, oh good, you can see it. Okay, visit reasons. So actually, before I get into that, let me look at the schedule screen again, because I wanted to show you there are a couple of different statuses here. The status for Alyssa is blank. We don't have a clipboard icon there. And that's because Alyssa is privacy enabled. She's 22 years old, and she is not set up as self for her billing account. She's probably still under her parents' insurance. And right now, and this is version 1, so bear that in mind. We are making changes and improving how different portal users will be able to, in the future, complete pre-check-in, but for right now, it is just the billing accounts portal user. So she, as a privacy-enabled patient, she's not able to fill this out yet herself. And there's another example that I wanted to show with Chad. And this visit reason is set to not send a pre-check-in. And you'll notice the visit reason is a 48-hour recheck. So he was just in 2 days ago and completed pre-check-in. So for this visit reason, we decided, okay, we're not gonna have you do pre-check-in again. And that's why I wanted to show you visit reasons. Now there might be a number of reasons that you'd want to set certain visit reasons to not show pre-check-in. When you get your pre-check-in enabled, but you're not live yet with it, you'll be able to configure these. And you can sort this column. I've set a couple of these to no visit reasons, and you can create your own. It's pretty straightforward. When you open up one of these visit reasons, you would select no on the radio button, and that any patient that's scheduled for that type of visit reason is not going to receive notifications or have the orange button. And yeah.
I was just wondering when there was a good time for questions, because we have some fun ones from the chat to catch up with.
Okay. Last thing, in documents, when you're configuring, we have a new section. You're going to want to make sure that this is configured to be the same as where you already put your insurance cards, the same category as where you put insurance cards now. If folks have other questions for me, well, we'll continue with the presentation, and then we'll you can find me. Yeah. Do you want to get this set up? Great.
Sorry. So with the pre-check-in, I seen that it had the tab to complete the Chattis questionnaires.
Yes.
Now, what if the patient is adolescent and it's for the patient themselves to do it, but the mom or dad is pre-checking in? Would it remind them, hey, remind your child to do the Chattis questionnaires on their portal login?
So we don't require, Chattis is independent of pre-check-in, so that's a third-party service. So we're not reminding for Chattis. Chattis is doing that. If you have a subscription with Chattis, then they will send those reminders. However, the notifications for pre-check-in go out 48 hours before the date of the appointment, and it's present in the portal for an hour afterward. So if you get a Chattis, for the wonderful parents who 7 days ahead, they get the Chattis notification, and they go into the portal, they'll be able to complete pre-check-in at the same time. They just won't get a notification for pre-check-in until 48 hours beforehand.
Okay.
And the patient would get their own Chattis reminder completely independent of pre-check-in.
But with the adolescents or teenagers being teenagers. But I think it's great.
Althea, is it a good time for me to read some pre-check-in questions from the chat? Okay. When a parent adds a new insurance, is there a way for the parent to list the subscriber information?
Not at this time.
Okay. If they have two insurances, do the parents put in the policyholder's name and date of birth?
Well, if they have a photo of the card, that's the best, and that's going to have all of that information on there. Right now, we're just taking, remember, this is version 1. We're just taking the card image and then the name of the insurance They could potentially enter it into that field. There's nothing stopping them from doing that, but they don't need to. They just need to say, hey, I have new insurance, send the photo, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, and then this one, I think I'm following correctly, but also the dates of birth of the parents determine which insurance is automatically listed as first and second. Does the EHR correct them?
The EHR does not, pre-check-in is not changing the subscriber's date of birth.
Okay. I think
So-
it was piggybacking on the prior question of are parents putting in the policyholder's name and date of birth, and the answer is no, that is not a data field, but it's captured by the photo they're prompted to take of the front and back of the card.
That's correct.
Okay. If our privacy is enabled at 14 years, does that mean no pre-check-in for patients over 14 unless they are their own billing account?
Unfortunately, that's true right now, and I would discourage folks from changing their billing account because it will change the from creating a billing account for that 14-year-old patient. They're not the insurance holder, and it will change claims. It'll change billing history. So be cautious if you're making those changes. In future versions, we are going to be allowing other portal users, including the self-portal user, to be able to complete pre-check-in. But for now, this is just we started with billing because it's like the most, you can get the most variety of things for that particular portal user type.
And I promise last one for now. When our parents do Chattist first, like that beautiful scenario you have where you've logged in because you got notified about one or the other and they're both there for you to do. If you do your Chattist first, it kicks them out of that kind of portal home screen. And we have a lot of families, they have a lot of families only doing one or the other. Is there a way to make them be able to do both before being kicked out of the portal?
I think the idea would be that we would need to have Chattist send them back to the portal homepage rather than close the web browser.
Okay, so, or I'm wondering if our client, time being, who are using the tool in the now, you tell your families to do their pre-check-in and then do their Chattist?
Well, either way, they're going to need to do both, but they'll get the reminder 48 hours ahead to do their pre-check-in. So if they did get kicked out and they didn't return to the portal, they don't remember that they had that second orange button to do, then they will be reminded in 48 hours
Awesome.
before.
Thank you so much.
So edge case. So difficult relationship with the parents. The person who's the billing provider is the person we don't want to know that mom is coming to the office with the children. Is there a way to turn off that pre-check-in notification for that account? Like, can you disable it by account? We have a no reminders flag that we use in this scenario.
So what I would do is I wouldn't link a portal user to that account.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just say, you have a
But-
portal user, but the billing account portal, I think in that edge case, I just wouldn't have that linked account and they won't get pre-check-in.
Okay.
Yeah.
But let's say the mom could have an account for communicating about vaccine records, or once we turn one on for her, that's going to then push the other thing.
Dr. Diazio, if I
Tracking.
may interject. So some of the limitations we're going to talk about, and pardon the AV issues we're going through, viewers here and at home, but the reality is, given where the tool is right now, some families may not make sense to give
Right, no,
them
as long as I can turn it off, it's fine. It doesn't
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
work
you
for
totally
everybody.
can. Yep.
Right, that's all I want.
And it's insanely easy to do. You just unlink the accounts. Yeah, it's a great question.
Althea, when I brought this up with you yesterday, I think what the decision was, or the suggestion, was that we create a specific flag for those type of patients. What triggers, my question is, what triggers the orange? What is triggering the edits? Like, is that what and I'm not sure that I got this correct. When a patient gets the pre-check-in, are they, and they have to make edits, or they don't have to make edits? They're just reviewing their screens?
So if there's a blank field in the patient or account demographics, you'll see the information requested. If they haven't filled out race and ethnicity, or if they have no address, then they would see information requested in that field.
And are these fields that they can pass over?
Yep. So the orange fields, we opted to not make some of those
Yeah.
fields mandatory because it's not always essential. Not everybody has a middle name or a suffix or things like that. So rather than make fields required and get bad information, we left it optional for those situations.
So for us, it's important to make sure that we get a picture of the card, front and back. If they didn't do one part or the other, we would get an alert at the office, right? And then an opportunity to
Yeah,
capture that.
so all that information gets reviewed by the practice once it comes in. It doesn't just automatically get uploaded.
Okay.
Yep.
In that table, it says card front or card back.
Right.
And so then you would see that that's what is available, but you'd have to kind of know to pay attention to it in the pre-check-in table.
And I mean, I'm excited. I think this is great. This is like leaps and bounds of, what I expected to see. I think the question.
Can you speak a
that
little
was
closer to
asked-
the mic? I'm sorry for
The question I think that was asked earlier was probably about coordination of benefit, where they were mentioning the dates of birth and putting in that field, and that may be important at some point if you're not able to do it now.
The date of birth of the subscriber.
Yeah, of the parents, because there is this default that the insurance goes to the parent who is older. So it is an important field, and we get harangued by PEDS 1 or whatever, like, oh, you didn't get this was important for us. So it is an important field. If you can have that tickler in your head that needs to be built in somehow.
Okay, fantastic. I'll take that back to the team.
So we've been a part of PCC for 3 days or more. So those fields that were created 4 days ago are not applicable to today. So we had primary phone number, which was the home number. Then we had a secondary number. And now you have a cell number for mom, cell number for dad. And prior to us going to pre-check-in, either I didn't capture it or it wasn't explained very well. But what was a primary number is now an alternate number because the cell numbers are your primary. But the fields didn't interchange, so we just renamed the field, but it's not pulling the primary number per se, which is where the cell number used to be stored. It's pulling the alternate number, which is the top one, which was initially the primary number. So there's a lot of work more to be done because every time we get a pre-check-in, it populates a brand new phone number, which is not new because it's down here in your cell number block.
Okay, so I think you're saying that when the parent is receiving pre-check-in, it's not pulling all of the numbers, or it's not pulling the correct
It's going
number?
to the alternate number that has no number in it to begin with, because now that is now an alternate number and not necessarily the primary number, where it used to be 4 days ago. Because we used to have the mom's phone number, which is the home number.
Okay.
Then we had a secondary number, and then we had mom's cell, dad's cell. So we changed the name on the cell numbers to primary number and then the contact as who owns that number. So these top two are now blank, and the primary number is not getting pulled because of the order, and you can't change the order.
So Linda, I'm just coming up because I actually think that's a configuration thing that we can change in the back end to help reorganize the numbers, because your numbers are out of sync now.
And
So-
I did ask that, and they said they couldn't do it.
Okay, well,
So
let's-
definitely.
yeah.
Lisa, Linda, why don't we meet after and we'll take a look together. Lisa was just saying that might be a configuration issue.
This is a fun one, you guys. I love the energy. So Amanda Smith just wanted me to chime in to be clear. When a portal user who is doing pre-check-in chooses to expire their own policy, the expiration date is not today or the day they are checking in. It defaults to the day prior.
Okay, thank you.
We've been sort of wrestling with what to do with the tags on our phone numbers, and one of the things that we've been thinking about is just having it be first, second, third, fourth contact. Like, I don't really kind of care what the number is. I just want to know what order you want me to call in. The part that's unsatisfying about that is that our triage nurses would sometimes like to know, are they calling the patient cell or mom's cell? So I think there's a real wish for some sort of way to have a first contact that then you can associate with a little bit of free text or even a couple drop downs, because the most common scenario is going to be mom cell, patient cell, work, that kind of thing. Because what we're doing now, like those 4 options are not enough. And I want to know what order to call people in so I can do broadcast messaging with that as well. So
Yep,
but
that's
the problem
certainly
is if we go make the change now, right now, that first contact for us is work, and so that's it's gonna be a little bit yucky in that transition.
Okay.
Yeah, that's certainly listed as one of the limitations in the slide that I'm looking at that you can't see right now. Yeah, admittedly, I know the slide deck is in the app if you guys want to follow. I certainly want to. I would like to continue moving through as much of the material we can. The Q&A is great, but I do want to try to get through the stuff, and we can chat after, or if you guys pull up the slides, I guess would be a good workaround. So benefits of pre-check-in. Certainly, you know, the big takeaways here are giving the families the ability to do this on their own time instead of when they're standing in the office, saving the practice time. It's saving your front desk time. It's a great way to boost portal engagement. We always advocate trying to get as many of your families to use the patient portal as possible, with the caveat that you remember higher portal engagement is going to create a higher workload for those members of your staff that work in the portal. So, you know, with the understanding that work is shifting from one place to another, that's important to recognize. But there will be less time scanning insurance cards. That's a huge one that I have always advocated in speaking with my clients on. You know, what happens when your families are standing in front of you. They dig through their wallets or purses or their phones and find their physical cards or their digital cards. Now you've already got it. You just upload it. And you don't have your front desk person standing up, walking over to the scanner, scanning one side, scanning the other. It's done. You've got a quality image. And that ultimately is going to leave your staff time to work on other projects as well. Because we all know people in your practices are wearing a lot of different hats, right? And the ability to be flexible on those tasks assigned on any given day is a big boost. So that's what we really feel is some of the largest benefits. Limitations, certainly we've already spoken about several of those. The billing account only the billing account user can use pre-check-in. Families with multiple patients that may have an appointment on the same day are going to get multiple pre-check-ins. So there's a little bit of fatigue there, potentially, if you've got a family of 3 coming in. 2 children, less work, but still you're doing it twice. Phone numbers is a huge one. We acknowledge that. We're working to make it better. It's important to remember that this is version 1 of this tool. There is a huge understanding that added functionality needs to be added to really make this the robust tool that we want it to be. But we felt like this was a really good thing to get in front of you now. Something important to remember is that there is a rainbow on the screen, and that's really an exciting thing for me right now. Families who may be uninsured or have an otherwise listed lack of insurance, that's going to be displayed to them when they do their pre-check-in. So you need to be cognizant of the labeling. But more importantly, pre-check is built such that it will look at an insurance card, and if it is more than 1 year old, it will assume it to be expired. So if you have somebody listed as uninsured, it's still going to tell you that their uninsured insurance card is expired, and that's a reality that we look at right now. Oh, look, you can see it. Hooray. Thanks, guys. And thank you all for being so patient. I know this was not the anticipated course. And again, and Althea touched on this in part of her presentation, is that the families marked with privacy enabled, they won't get pre-check-in because privacy, right? We need to be very judicious in how we protect our patients' data and their privacy, for sure. Account management. To make the best use of it, there's a few things that need to be done ahead of time. You need to make sure that there is a single home and billing account that will receive those notifications. This typically is the parent who brings the child in for visits. Make the second parent a personal contact. That way, it's easier to link those portal and billing accounts, and they potentially may be automatically linked by the tool, because it does have that ability. But proceed with caution, especially if you're changing the assigned billing account for a patient, or because if one account has been in place for any length of time, the portal account should be set up such that it allows for the billing account to also become the portal account. By no means is this the only way to do it. It's a conversation to have with your staff, potentially also your client advocate here at PCC, to talk about those, these are kind of the fringe cases, the one-offs. So don't be afraid to reach out to us if you have a scenario. Lisa, did you have a web question?
I actually wanted to comment on this because I want to encourage folks not to do anything radical in this scenario, because you may have families that you need to have those split accounts. And if you do, and the portal account that you want to associate isn't the billing, then you just don't use pre-check-in for them, because there is going to be more enhancements coming to this tool. Like they've mentioned, this is version 1. So we don't want you chasing after trying to put all these changes as in moving people to personal contact unless you really want to, but there are going to be other versions coming that will better accommodate who can actually do the portal check-in. That is something that's on the roadmap. So you'll be able to select that person versus changing account information around. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know if you knew that, and maybe we're going to get to that, but.
Thanks, Lisa. The wise words of Lisa Legge, my manager. Whoa, so much clicking just happened and I have no idea why. No. I don't know what just happened. So the process of implementing, what is happening? Okay, but it's changing slides. Oh, please don't. This one. So there's a few prerequisites for implementing the pre-check-in. First and foremost, you need to be on appointment book. I'm pretty confident that everybody in this room is using our appointment book tool. I think we have about 5 practices company-wide that aren't. You need to be using the check-in tool, which if you have the appointment book seems obvious for most. But if you aren't, please talk to your client advocate about moving to using that tool. And you need to be using the patient portal, and we recommend that you have a pretty strong implementation and adoption of the patient portal by your users. 50% or better is really a great number that I've been working with, but we're seeing from a lot of practices that may have low portal implementation or adoption, that their portal adoption is increasing. So it's kind of twofold, because now they're being forced to funnel through this, do their pre-check, and it makes an easier way for you all to communicate back and forth with your families. You also need to review those workflows, like I spoke about a couple of times, the phone numbers and notification preferences, and then checking your eligibilities. And Althea touched on this during her presentation. The last major consideration for it is the visit reasons, choosing which visit reasons actually receive the pre-check, and then insurance card document categories. Pretty much every practice, I think, uses an insurance/billing category. By default, the pre-check-in tool adds a new category to your system, but our general guidance is if you've been using that insurance billing category for your cards leading up to now, you continue to do that. That's a very simple mapping that your client advocate or whomever at PCC is adding you to pre-check-in will map out for you. So we have a really great frequently asked questions document available, but I want to run through a few of those now. I know we're running a little thin on time, and I want to leave room for questions at the end, but I'll zoom through these. How do we make sure that our billing accounts have the portal users? This is a little bit of legwork for your front desk to be doing prior to the visit. We recommend up to 7 days prior, and that just looks like going through your schedule, opening up each patient, and scrolling down to the account demographics, and you'll see where it says that there is a home and billing account user, and if there is a name there, then that person is already set up for pre-check-in. If there is not, you can click edit. It will prompt you to choose one, and at that point, there's a little validation message that shows up if you don't have a great match to link those two. We can show you what that looks like if you're interested in adding pre-check-in. It is part of the conversation that I both have with my clients during like a pre-meeting for pre-check-in adoptions, and then there's a webinar that you'll attend as well. So it's actually a great segue to the adoption of pre-check-in and what that looks like if you opt to do so. And I guess I'll talk about that real quickly. So should you leave here today and decide that you want to pursue looking at pre-check-in for your practice, what you'll do is you can submit a ticket to support@pcc.com or reach out to your client advocate or both and say, hey, I'd like to move forward with this process. At this point, we'll schedule a call with you to talk about all of the considerations we spoke of today and a few other things. You'll get scheduled for a webinar, and at that point, we have one other client advocate, Andriana, who is fantastic. If you are listening at home today, Andriana, thank you. She will schedule adoption and turning the switch on for you. It's a little bit of a project, and we want to make sure that as we add it to your practice, any questions you may have get answered as they come up, and you have a dedicated person to do that. Why does the billing account user have to do the pre-check-in? Confidentiality reasons exclusively. A lot of our testing practices express concerns about confidentiality and making sure that the right person got that information. Because when you get the pre-check-in, you do get a fair amount of demographic info. And if you have a family arrangement where you may not want the other party involved to know a particular demographic, that's an easy way to protect them. I spoke a bit earlier, it doesn't automatically update the fields, and that's because we want your staff to put eyes on the data, make sure that whatever is being transferred is not garbage. So we want to make sure that you get a live set of eyes on all of this stuff before it replaces data that may be already in your systems. Let's see. Are there any particular questions on this that you really want me to go? I'm a little short on time. Kate, go ahead.
Just going to do a real quick one from Melissa McClanahan. When entering the person who normally brings in the patient and signs the financial document under the billing account, will the system use them as the insurance card holder? Because it might be the other parent. And I said no. Billing account and insurance policy holder are independent and do not need to match? Or was that too fast?
That's way too fast. Sorry.
Okay. Too long, didn't hear me rapping. The billing account and the insurance policy holder do not need to match, and they do not automatically synchronize in any way. So you can set someone as the billing account for a patient and have a totally different human being as the insurance policy holder.
But bear in mind that you'll see, whoever the billing account is will see the insurance in pre-check-in. So if you have one of those edge cases where you don't want the family members to see each other's stuff, maybe you don't do pre-check-in with that family.
This is not a question from the screen. I apologize. The notification that goes out that says you're now eligible to do pre-check-in through the portal has the required language at the end of it that you can type in stop to opt out. My concern is that could be read as opting out of pre-check-in when it actually opts you out of all communications from the EHR. Do we have any feedback from those who have already adopted pre-check-in on if they've had that issue?
That is a fantastic question.
I can take that one. Do you know it? Okay. So I haven't heard that, but I will bring it back to the team and ask. We are legally required to add stop to opt out, and I imagine, I don't know, but I imagine that folks get enough of these notifications that stop to opt out is sort of like present, and they know that it's not opt out to pre-check-in, but it's a good point, and I will definitely bring it back to the team.
Schwartz, hold on 1 second, Dr. Schwartz.
No, just the part where we didn't have the visual, or when you were, nobody else when you were on it. What's the mechanism for having excluding people from getting pre-check? You said there was a way to do that.
There are a couple of ways. If you don't have an accounts portal user linked, so if it's all linked and you just don't want to send pre-check-in for a certain visit reason, you would configure that visit reason. I showed it really quick at the end. One?
You can simply just unlink them and they won't get it.
So I don't know if I can show it over here. I probably can't. So in the accounts portal, accounts demographics in the patient chart, below account demographics, there's this sort of bubble, and it says accounts portal user. There's an unlink button. If you edit, there's an unlink button or a manage button. You hit unlink, and that person will not receive pre-check-in.
Are there any questions on here you want to make sure get answered? I can make sure that the answers to these get linked to the app for anybody that's interested as well.
You can find me after, too.
Yeah.
I have about an hour before my next thing.
Yeah, we can answer them after the session. I just don't want to. Go ahead, sir.
So the questions get sent out 2 days in advance to the pre-check-in rather. Is it open up until they come in and get checked in at the front desk?
Yeah. So pre-check actually goes live 7 days prior to a visit, and that was a number that was chosen, I think, more for clients that also use Chattis. But if you don't use Chattis, and your families will eventually learn that they have this thing that they can complete anytime in the week before. But to your question, yes, you could complete it 10 minutes before your appointment. In fact, my wife did my daughter's in the parking lot last week for her well visit. So.
And it's available for an hour after the appointment time.
Okay, that was going to be my next one. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Could you please answer the last question on the list on the slide? And also, could you share any kind of success stories from the first adapters?
I think you said share some success stories.
Yeah, if you can share success stories for the first adapters, and when you answer the last question on the slide about how to improve percentage of
You're on a
portable.
different slide.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Oh, you wanted the other one? I'm sorry.
This one or this one?
The billing account information?
How do you improve the percentage of portal accounts linked to the billing accounts?
Yeah. So this one's really about having a process in place and sticking to it. You should consider how to incorporate these checks into your day-to-day, whether it's done during scheduling or answering phone notes, replying to portal messages, and again, like I said, building a process with your front desk where maybe in their downtime between appointments, they go through the schedule up to a week in advance and check those visits and make sure that those patients have a linked account. So it's front desk work primarily. Does that answer your question?
So there is no like a report we can run or something sort of a bulk information that can be like a special project type approach?
We have a report that links portal accounts and patients, but it doesn't that I'm aware of have the ability yet to look at patients that have a billing and account user linked to it specifically. Success stories. Sure. Pirate Pediatrics, who is here this week, is one of my clients, and they tested this product. Love it. They're seeing a huge benefit. I was at another practice here in Denver a few days ago. They were one of the earlier adopters. They're seeing a huge response from families that are completing their pre-check-in, and they're really happy to get the information ahead of time. They definitely feel like it's making a difference in their day-to-day workflows and getting better information into the demographics fields. I don't have specific, like accolades, but those are two examples I know of specifically.
One quote that I heard was, "It changed our lives," but I think that was hyperbole.
Go ahead.
So what if, an example, I make a same-day appointment for a later time? Would they still get that pre-check-in?
Yeah, and they should get it immediately or within 5 minutes.
So let me asterisk that. It depends on the visit reason, because many of your same-day appointments are sick visits, right? So that depends on if your practice has chosen to apply pre-check-in to the same-day appointments. Generally speaking,
we normally would just do it for our annual physical or well
Right.
visit. So if we make at 8 a.m. a 4 p.m. well visit for a doctor, they would eventually.
if it's one of the visit reasons that has pre-check mapped to it, then yes, they will get it.
Thank you.
It'll be available. I don't know that they'll get a notification.
One more question.
one.
Do you have marketing material or anything to prepare and alert patients
Oodles
about our...
and oodles of marketing material, and a ton of it on the learn.pcc site as well. If you search pre-check, there's probably 8 pages and videos and all sorts of content. And also you can talk to your client advocate about it. One thing that I have recommended to my families, to my practices for their families, is hanging flyers. Put flyers by your front desk. Put them in the rooms. Post about it on your Facebook or your Instagram. Embrace all of these tools to get that messaging out there. You'll boost your reactions. You'll boost portal adoption, and just get a lot more response. Yeah.
I think we can take one more. We're at time, though, aren't we? Isn't it till 2:15?
Kate, did you have a question?
Yeah. No, I was going to share an unexpected and quick success story with pre-check-in. I had a client who was struggling to get race, ethnicity, and preferred language at check-in traditionally. And since implementing pre-check-in, they've been capturing that information with absolutely no staff effort, and it is setting them up for success on their journey to becoming a patient-centered medical home. Another was that I went to a go live, and not only had this practice never used PCC, the families had never used the PCC portal. They got their blast message saying, here's your new portal account, here's your temp password, go set it up. When they logged in, they saw the orange pre-check-in button with absolutely no staff or family training or marketing materials or explanation. It was so easy to use that on go live day, 4 families had pre-checked themselves in. And as I'm sitting there training the folks, they're like, what's the green clipboard with a check mark? I'm like, oh yeah, those families already checked themselves in. Isn't that nice? So it's like winning the lottery every morning, just pulling the slot machine and seeing how many families already checked themselves in. It's very, very easy to use.
I think we're at time. I first and foremost want to thank you all for being super patient while we work through the technical issues, and hope that this was worth your time. If you have questions today, tomorrow, or in the weeks that follow, please don't hesitate to reach out to your best point of contact at PCC. And have a great rest of your day.